Well, they'll get enough of me talking here tonight, you know. I mean, I get the stories and everything for them, you know. Relax, relax. Just trust me, yeah. I gotta go pick up something for his science project, and also got to pick up something for JP too. You know, like you don't want to forget to leave him out of there. You know. Yeah. Well, I gotta check this thing over here too. Yeah, there's high-speed dubbing for some tapes here. As a matter of fact, let me go get a book here. You know, I got some time to go get a book. You needed your light, Daddy. Don't you need your light on it?
Well, there, though.
Huh?
The light is good there.
You sure? Okay, let me get this. The Mickey Mouse book.
Now you move.
All right. Yeah. So how's this? Huh?
No.
So what, sit back over here?
Yeah, go back further toward the window.
Over here. Here. The Mickey Mouse book. Maybe I'll read this to Grandma too when she comes in. First thing every morning, Mickey Mouse goes out for a swim in his mouse-shaped swimming pool. Yeah, you know, see the mouse? You know, there's the pool right there. You know, he's got his little beach towel there and whatnot. Then Mickey hops into his quick blue car, Zoom. Yeah, you know, it looks like something I used to own there. Okay, hold on. So what, did you want me to start over or what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mickey is a movie star. Sometimes he's a cowboy. That brave sheriff looks like Goofy. See, there's Mickey. There's Goofy.
Wait, show Mickey again.
Well, yeah, you know, there's
Let
Mickey.
me get a close-up
Yeah,
of Mickey.
yeah. And then there's Goofy,
Where's Goofy?
right here.
Let me get a close-up of Goofy. Okay.
Sometimes Mickey is a spaceman as he's flying to the moon. Today, he is a brave swordsman, Sir Marco Mouseketeer. He rescues Maid Minnie Mouse from the giant castle. See, here he is right there. There's Minnie Mouse. Not a bad-looking mouse. There's Mickey Mouse. And there's his sword, and there's his hat. Yeah, looks like a mouse I caught in a trap once, you know. All right. Let's go to the beach, says Mickey to his friend Minnie Mouse. Pluto Pup is Mickey's friend too, and hops in the car with them. Mickey and Minnie play a game of beach ball. And Pluto loves to dig holes in the sand. Out comes a crab to see what's going on. And here are Mickey's two nephews, Morty and Ferdy. They are learning how to dive and swim underwater. Ahoy there, it's Donald Duck on his sailboat. And Donald comes ashore and Minnie unpacks a huge picnic basket. And there are sandwiches and cookies and cake and lots of lemonade. Yum yum, what a lovely picnic. That's all for now, says Mickey. See you soon. Okay, that's the story of Mickey Mouse. Daddy's got to check his tape here for a second here. See what's going on. Got a tape on the music there. So what you guys been doing today? Well, yeah, you know, you don't have to get the music. I mean, yeah, ain't too much interest in the movies. You know, if you notice, you know, Daddy still has his handsome haircut. Okay, let's get the tape going here. Okay, got it. Check over here. Turn it over. Put that up there. Okay, put her on pause here. No. Okay, so pause here. Cut that on. Cut that on. Okay. it don't quite operate like Richard said, but at least it operates, you know. So like I was saying, if you guys notice, you get my nice fine hairdo here, you know, and also my little pretty brown eyes here. Damn, why don't you get a close-up of my eyes, you know. I mean, you know, look at them people, you know, all nice and clean, you know. Teeth, if you notice, Luke. Understand what I'm talking about. man, get a load of these choppers, you know, can you? You see them choppers right there, you know? And when you brush your teeth, make sure that you brush your tongue. There's nothing like an 8-year-old kid with a tongue that's dirty, you know? You know, you gotta brush that out, you know? Here, let me go get another story here while this is going. So I can read this one. Side 2 is love, always, finds a way, then falling for you. Make sure you little guys eat your dinner this evening, you know what I'm talking about? And I'm in love. Yeah. And when you talk to me, who knows, maybe he can take a picture of your good old dad taking a bath or something, you know? Just when I'm getting ready, you know? I mean, you don't have to do nothing strange. Understand what I mean, huh? Yeah. She's over me. Yeah. Okay. So how's your school going? Good, I hope. I gotta go pick up your grandma in just a minute here. I think I'm gonna make a ride on the hood, you know, on the way back. She cooked steak last night. And I gotta get a bee here. Hold on, let me go get this. So what time does she get off?
2:30.
Yeah, here, you know, let's see what the music sounds like here. Are you ready for this? They pay people to do that, you know. Go over here for a second. I still gotta go to the store. Well, is it going here or what? Huh?
Huh?
Yeah. I still gotta go to the store. You know, we have to pick him up that book, Daddy.
What book?
That science spelling book for him. You know, something that's got to do with science. You know, that'd be a lot better to buy him some science stuff than sending him money.
Buying Luke science?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, someone want to send me stuff here like that. Anything special you guys want me to do to little grandma when I pick her up? What do we got here? Alright, let me get this. Side 2, side 1. No ones. Of course, you know, you can always keep this tape, you know, because after I get to be 60 or 70 or something, I can look back at my youthful days, you know, to see how I look, you know. I mean, after all, you know, this rare beauty only comes around about once every 75 years, you know. Hello, Esther, my dear. You miss your ever-loving husband, huh? Were you lonely, sleeping in your bed last night? You wish to have my little bodily presence there, warm and fuzzy, right next to you, huh? Of course you miss me. You know I'm the apple of your eye, huh? Oh, yep. Yeah. The preciousness of my touch and my warm little moist lips, you know.
Can't see you. Okay, now the
Yeah.
kisses.
Huh?
Now the kisses.
So, boy, you know, get a load of them lips, you know. Yeah. I say you still got red hair, you know. I don't want nobody else. And body break. You know, I'm gonna have to go pick up Mama here now soon. How's the hamsters doing? I hope you go feed and water the hamsters right now. And when you go out of the house, don't turn the air conditioner off on them because they get hot just like you do, you know. I bet you guys have had that hamster cage changed in 2 weeks, you know. Remember, every 2 weeks, you got at least water and change the water for the hamsters, man. They'll die on you, you know. Sheesh. So who's gonna go pick up Mama, Daddy?
Well, I go while you recording.
Well, I don't want her to think, you know, that I don't want to pick her up, you know. But I really could get this recording done. You know what? On these, they don't give you a place to write. Let's see, A is
Are you recording them things that quick?
yeah,
You mean it can record 90 minutes and what?
yeah.
How long?
We're gonna put in a couple minutes, probably in about 15 minutes.
Yeah?
This don't give you a place to write on.
You mean it records that fast?
Yeah. It's high speed. I'll just put here P. Bryson.
Okay, say something to Luke and JP.
Okay, guys, I'll be reading some more stuff to you this evening. Okay, bye-bye. Here, you know. You know, that'd be better. more light, you know.
What happened to the television in the bedroom?
I don't know what happened to it. Come here and give your beloved. Ma, did you get your phone first? Give me a kiss.
Bad.
And you notice I didn't act up, huh?
That's good. I'm rushing in to watch the stories and there's no TV.
Well, so which one you gonna watch? If it's for me, I ain't here. Yeah, it's a beastly world, I'm telling you. Oh, you know, you can only take so much of that. Yep. So how you little guys doing, huh? Just living the life of Riley, you know? Free food, free rent, free candy, free clothes, 4 square meals a day, you know? All the toys in the world you can play with. So all the Legos, I suppose you guys got them all over the garage there. Who knows, maybe you should build a house with your Legos, you know? Yeah, life of Riley. So have you guys torn up the bed yet, or what? Just bought it. Wait a second here. It sounds like something's gone dead. No, still there. Okay, with me in here, you know, a general mess. So who is this Carl guy?
That's like the board person.
Huh?
The board person up to the school.
Oh yeah, did you guys notice your pictures up on the wall there, you know? So, you know, you might as well show them the pictures there, you know?
That's still dead.
Huh?
That's still best Teresa's girl.
Yeah. Not a bad kid, you know?
And that's Luke, JP, and Richie.
Yeah, Yeah. Guys living the life of Riley. There goes the tape. Yeah. Get this in here. Yeah. Take this one out. Already got that one. So Bunny's supposed to be coming over at about 4:30 to pick me up. Take me over for some free food, you know.
Yeah, she gonna bring
Hey,
it
what?
back.
Never pass up free food, guys. All right. Anytime you can get a meal, you know, and it don't cost you nothing, jump on it. You know what I mean? Particularly when you're at your grandma's house, you know. Demand steak every day.
You gotta tell them, don't take food from strangers.
Yeah, steak and lobster.
Or
What?
tell them, don't take food from strangers.
Don't take food from strangers, all right? Even after your old man gets home. Now, I hope I don't did this right here. Anything else that you want me to tell them, Ma?
Tell them, don't even talk to strangers. Tell grandma said, don't talk to strangers.
Don't even talk to strangers.
Without your parents present.
Now, general rule, don't talk to your mother unless your father is present. So you guys don't have to say nothing to her for the next umpty months until I get back. Now, if she's got a bone to pick over, you just tell her to call me about it, all right?
This is Grandpa.
Yeah.
Don't leave that, Lou.
Yeah. Yep, you ain't got to talk to your mother until Daddy gets back. Yeah, let's see here. You know, Daddy stayed up to 2 o'clock last night watching this basketball game. Mom, you know that those lousy Lakers lost last night?
Yeah, that's good.
Did you see that?
They got younger people.
Oh, boy, you know, they lost in the last second of the game. The last second. And the guy told them what was going to happen, you know. If it's for me, I ain't here.
No, Carl.
Yeah, well, you know, give me my regards. Okay, here.
This isn't worth a raise and get off early for the next 6 months. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Carl.
How you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Good thing too.
Well, we'll see what it looks like. Hey, look at it. It was delivered.
Yeah, he's done.
Okay, here, we got to get this one in here. This is the record. You know, you got to always keep things straight, you know what I mean? You know, there can be no confusion in life. You understand what I'm talking about here? Let's see here. We got the SL1 3 here. See? Yeah, right. Side. Maybe I ought to check this out first. See what's what. Genius here, you know, just genius. You know, it times my own brain. Amazing, you understand? Let's see here now. I got that going, got the power on. Now you just press, yeah, and off we go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, a man of my intelligence ought to be running the nation, you know what I mean? Back in a second. I gotta go see what I can get my mitts on. You know what I'm talking about? Might be a little bit of a contrast with the light background here.
Yeah, you're right.
And besides, remember, Daddy, this is mine. You know, they can see
That's
over
right.
Mama here. You know.
That's all he's been doing is kissing.
Well, he missed you.
Yeah, Carl, that's all he's been doing is
He
kissing.
missed you.
So how's the light?
Okay.
Are you sure this looks all right?
Go ahead.
Okay. Green eggs and ham. By Dr. Zeus. I am Sam. I am Sam. Sam I am. That Sam I am. That Sam I am. I do not like that Sam I am. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like those green eggs and ham. There he is with the green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like those green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse? I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox? See, there's the fox in the box. Yeah. Not in a box, not with a fox, not in a house, not with a mouse. I would not eat them here or there. I would not eat them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Would you, could you, in a car, eat them, here they are. I would not eat them in a car. You may like them, you will see, you may like them in a tree. I would not, could not in a tree, not in a car, you let me be. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. And there he is right there. You gotta focus it. I just show him right there. Yeah.
Hey, boy, put it back on there.
Well, no, you can just leave it there. You know, go ahead. Well, you know, you just shoot over here. I'll do this. Are you still going there? Yeah, okay. A train, a train, a train, a train. Could you, would you, on a train? Not in a train, not in a tree, not in a car, Sam, let me be. I would not, could not in a fox, I could not, would not in a box. I would not eat them with the mouse. I would not eat them in a house. I would not eat them here or there. I will not eat them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Say, in the dark, here in the dark, would you, could you, in the dark? I would not, could not, in the dark. Would you, could you, in the rain? I would not, I could not in the rain. Not in the rain, not on a train, not in a car, not in a tree. I do not like them, Sam, you see. Not in a house, not in a box. Not with a mouse, not with a fox. I will not eat them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. You do not like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam, I am. Could you, would you, with a goat? I would not, could not, with a goat. Would you, could you, on a boat? See, there's the boat. I could not, I would not, on a boat. I could not, I would not, with a goat. I would not eat them in the rain. I will not eat them on a train. Not in the dark, not in a tree. Not in a car, you let me be. I do not eat them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I will not eat them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. Sound like you guys in your dinner. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. You do not like them, so you say. Try them, and you may. Try them, and you may, I say. Sam, if you let me be, I will try them, you will see. So he tries the green eggs and ham.
Hold it up where you can see.
Well, he's just trying to do, the green eggs and the ham.
Okay.
Say, I like green eggs and ham. I do, I like them, Sam, I am. And I would eat them in a boat, and I would eat them with a goat, and I will eat them in a train, and in the dark, and on a train, and in a car, and in a tree. They are so good, you see. So I will eat them in a box. I will eat them with a fox. I will eat them in a house. I will eat them with a mouse. I will eat them here and there. Say, I will eat them anywhere. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam, I am. And that's the end of the story. Green eggs and ham. All right, everybody up. Brush your teeth in there. Let's go one at a time. No fighting. And let's put the toys up. You can cut it here. Okay, Phony Baloney, the counterfeit kid. Mr. T and me. Here he is, guys.
Wait, let me get up to it.
You gotta zoom in into it all the time, you know. They can see. All right, here we go. On Monday, I was late to school. I ducked in my seat after the last bell. The teacher was tapping her foot. My dog jumped over the fence, I said. I had to chase him for 10 blocks. That wasn't true, but the teacher believed me. She didn't mark me tardy. Behind me, then James said, "You always tell lies. You're a big phony. Your dog is too small to jump a fence." "Prove it," I said. I forgot my lunch that morning, too. By lunchtime, I was really hungry. My dog ate my lunch, I told the teacher in the lunchroom. He likes bologna sandwiches. The teacher believed me. She gave me a sip for a hot lunch. Behind me, James said, "That's another lie. Your dog is just a puppy. He couldn't even eat a sandwich. You're a phony baloney." Here you guys are.
Hold it up.
Well, you ain't got to zoom in on it, Dad. You know, okay, go on here. "Prove it," I said. I carried my tray across the lunchroom. I am good at making up stories. I don't care if he believes them. Most people always did. I sat down at the table with my friends. They were talking about Mr. T. "I've got a Mr. T record," said one kid. He started humming and snapping his fingers. "I got a Mr. T picture and his autograph," another boy said. I knew James had a bunch of Mr. T comic books. I felt another story coming. Records, autograph, pictures. That's nothing. The kids all looked at me. They waited while I took a drink of milk. Then I said, "I know Mr. T personally." I didn't know him, but that was just another story. "Really? You know Mr. T personally?" the kid said. But James glared at me. "You prove it," he said. "Prove it. You're a phony baloney." I shrugged. I knew Mr. T was miles away, and he was busy working on his TV programs. "What if I could?" I answered. Suddenly, James jumped up. "Maybe you can," he said. "My dad works at the airport. Next Sunday, Mr. T is flying here to do a show." So, said James. "I'll get my dad to take us to the airport. Then you can prove that you know Mr. T personally." The kids at the table laughed. Prove it," they chanted. And James looked pleased. "Okay," I said. I could not get out of going, but I had to think of something. That Saturday morning, 4 of us rode to the airport with the father. All the way I had planned what I would do. I would pretend that I did know Mr. T. He knew lots of kids. Maybe Mr. T wouldn't remember not knowing me. At the airport, we drove through the back gates and right onto the airfield. "Just in time," said James's dad. "Look over there." Near the hangars, a white and gold plane taxied to a stop. The door opened, and a figure as big as the door stepped out. "There's Mr. T," James shouted. He started pushing me towards the plane. I was trapped. Down the stairs came Mr. T. His boots, they clicked on the metal steps. His gold chains, they flashed in the sunlight. He walked straight towards us. There he is right there. Oh, yeah. "Mr. T," James shouted, "here's someone who knows you personally." My knees were wobbly, but I stepped forward and held out my hand. "Hi, Mr. T. Remember me?" I said. Mr. T took my hands. I meet hundreds of kids every week. I don't remember everyone. Just as I'd hoped, my plan worked. I buffed my way as usual. "But I always remember, Mr. T," he went on, "someone I know personally." James butted in. He's a phony, Mr. T. A phony baloney, said the other kids. Mr. T's face, it clouded, and he crouched down beside me. Is that true? You lie to everyone? His eyes were like laser beams, peering into mine. I couldn't answer. I looked at a jet as it was taking off. I knew Mr. T knew the truth. Now, everyone knew. Mr. T, he grabbed my shoulders and turned me to face him. Mr. T ain't no fool, and neither are these guys, he said. The only fool is yourself, little brother. The rest of us know liars are fools, and that's not cool. I swallowed hard. Mr. T was right. My buff hadn't worked. I thought of all the other lies I had told. I turned my face to James. My dog didn't eat my lunch, I admitted. Lunch, said Mr. T. I'm fitting to eat a lot of burgers and fries. You guys want to come along? James looked at his dad. When he nodded yes, then we all cheered. Just then a big car drove up, and Mr. T sprinted across the concrete and followed me, he said. All four of us, we raced to the car. We got him back with Mr. T, and James and I sat on special jump seats that folded up. Even James was happy about that. Now we all could say that we knew Mr. T personally. Okay, guys, time for bed. I'm going to check this thing up here. I'll be back. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah, right. Once there was a reindeer named Rudolph who lived at the North Pole in Toyland. Rudolph was young and smaller than all the other reindeer there. They all had proud, tall antlers. Rudolph's antlers were only tiny little stubs. Worst of all, Rudolph had a nose that was big and bright red. It was so red that it glowed in the dark. Here's his nose there, guys. He got his... Poor Rudolph. He wanted to be like all the other reindeers in Toyland. Oh, to have a small brown nose instead of a big, bright red one. The other reindeer made fun of Rudolph and called him names. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they teased over and over again until the tears they gished on Rudolph's large red nose. Sometimes the other reindeers made a circle around Rudolph and sang, red nose, a funny sight, bigger than an apple and twice as bright. They kicked up snowballs with their tiny hooves and covered Rudolph with a blanket of white, fluffy snow. Be back in a second. All the other reindeer loved to play games. They played tree tag and snow slide and tumble bones. But Rudolph was never asked to play. Boo-hoo. He stood behind a pine tree and watched. He was very lonely. Rudolph couldn't even play hide and seek with the rabbits. His glowing red nose gave him away every time. See that big old nose there, JP? Yeah, little rabbits. Before Christmas Eve, Santa's elves posted a sign on the gate to Toyland. Santa's team choosing time, the sign said. All the reindeer were asked to line up at 8 o'clock in the meadow. Santa Claus was coming to choose the team that would deliver the presents to every good little boy and girl in the world, and daddies. The reindeer fairy danced with excitement when they heard the news. They pranced, they tossed their antlers, and they pawed the snowy ground with their hooves. Each reindeer hoped that he would be chosen to guide Santa's sleigh. It was the highest honor a reindeer could have. Rudolph sighed. He was ashamed to have Santa see his bright red nose, sort of like your mother's. So he decided to hide. At 8 o'clock, when all the other reindeer had gone to the meadow, then Rudolph hid behind a holly hedge. His bright red nose, it blended in with the red berries, and the thick growth of leaves, it concealed the rest of him. No one would find him there. In the meadow, all the reindeers in Toyland, except Rudolph, stood in a line while Santa inspected them. Santa chose carefully only the fastest, the strongest, the toughest, and the best reindeer would do. I think Dasher will be fine. He's the biggest reindeer, said Santa. See, there's Santa. Okay. Dasher
Hold it a while.
wrote his elf assistant in a big bush. And Dancer, he's the strongest, said Santa, pulling his beard. Dancer, wrote the elf. Ho, ho, let's see, continued Santa. Here's Prancer, and here's Vixen. They make the smoothest landings on the rooftops. Comet is the fastest, and Cupid is the most sure-footed, said Santa. I picked them. And last, said Santa, I choose Donner and Blitzen. They will be the best at twisting over the treetops and skimming along the telephone poles. See, there they all, guys. All right, that's good. Moving right along. The reindeer and Santa's team were very happy. They rubbed noses. They danced. They clicked their antlers together. They just had the time of their lives. Even the reindeer who weren't chosen were given good jobs to do. One was trying out electric trains. Another was to cuddle Christmas kittens. The only reindeer without a job was Rudolph. He wanted to help, but he knew he would be laughed at, so he stayed behind the holly hedges. At last came Christmas Eve. Santa's elves were busy packing the sleigh. I don't care if they make fun of me, said Rudolph suddenly. I want to help too. He dashed from his hiding place behind the hedge. There he is right there. And went to find Santa. There must be something I can do to help, he decided.
Who you going back? Show the page.
The night was bitterly cold, and a terrible fog had covered all the earth. Santa's elves kept bumping into each other as they hitched up the team. They could hardly see as they put on each bright red harness and tied to each one a jingle bell. And to make matters worse, the Navy came in. To make matters worse, Dancer and Dasher were fighting over who was to be the lead reindeer. I was chosen first, said Dasher, stamped angrily. But you always trip over the moon, said Dancer, as he was kicking a falling star. Even Santa was mad. We'll never get there if you two don't stop quarreling, he said. And where is my Christmas list? Dash it all. I can't see a thing in this fog. Then a soft red glow lit up the snow. Thank goodness, said Santa. Suddenly, jolly again, I found my list. Ho, ho. I must have tucked it in my belt. Who brought this fine lantern? Asked Santa. I must take it with me. Why, now I can see perfectly. It's not a lantern, said Rudolph, trembling. The light comes from my nose, sort of like Aunt Teresa's mouth. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, said Santa. I'm certainly glad to see you. Your light will guide my sleigh tonight. I appoint you head of my team and the #1 reindeer in all the world. Rudolph held his head high. Proudly he danced in front of the team. All the other reindeer bowed. Donner and Dancer helped Rudolph put on his harness, and Cupid gave him a big spray of holly berries. Then down, 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 and down a little further. Then they went down a little bit further, over the clouds and over the sleeping houses. Santa and his team flew on that foggy Christmas Eve. And leading the whole procession was your mother. No, was Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. So if you see a soft glow in the sky on Christmas Eve, duck. You can be sure that it's Rudolph. The famous reindeer of all is very clear. All right, everybody in the bed, get out of the way, woman. All right, guys, here we are again, once more tonight.
I'm not.
Pip the tugboat.
I tell things the way I see
There's
them.
Pip right there. All right, Pip the tugboat. Pip, Pip, cried Pip the tugboat as he was very sad. He was dull and ugly, badly in need of a shiny, new red coat of paint. See, here he is right there. Hold it. See, he needed a whole new coat of paint.
Hold it up close. Okay.
Now, Pip, he sighed to himself as he watched the other tugboats, all smarter looking than he was. Even his Pip wasn't anything like the small toot of the other tugboats. Pip became sadder still. Mr. B was Pip's owner. He was very nice to Pip, but he was poor and couldn't afford to give Pip a shiny new coat of paint, sort of like Daddy, you know. All the other tugboats were very snooty. They did not like Pip as he was ugly. They passed by him with their funnels high up in the air. See the little funnels in the air, guys?
Hold it down.
You know? Yeah, all right, yeah. At night, they would leave. At night, they would all huddle together and leave Pip bobbing on the water all by himself. Never mind, Pip would say to himself. Someday I'll be just like them. He snuggled near a big barge to keep himself from the wind. Pip, Pip, he blew his whistle. Make way for me. The barge has to get through. Pip was very hard working indeed, towing barges and big ships across the bay. He liked his work, for the ships were very kind to him. Some of them, they carried hay and cows and sheep. Here's the hay, there's the cows, and there's the sheep. Yeah, right. Some were packed up to their roofs with timbers. Some were big liners with lots of portholes, steamers, and banners flying in the wind. Some were gleaming white yachts that got stranded on the beach. Pip happily towed them all safely across the bay. One of the nicest things was watching a whole row of ships and barges cross the bay. It reminded Pip of a parade. One day, a storm came. The wind blew strong and hard. Rain fell in great big drops. The sky was black as ink. All the snooty tugboats huddled together while Pip tried to keep himself warm beside a moored barge. Mr. B came and covered Pip up. That's better, Pip said. It'll keep me dry for tomorrow's work. Then they heard a frantic call for help. It was a man on a barge full of farm animals. He waved his arms about. Help, help, he cried. We must help that man in distress, Mr. B said. Upon seeing the poor man, Pip agreed. Help, help! Again came the frantic cry. The cows moved. The horses called, and the chickens crackled. And so Mr. B and Pip braved the storm and tugged and pulled at the barge, and they tossed up and about, for the waves were very big. At last, they towed the barge safely to the shelter. All the other tugboats saw what had happened. They all admired Pip for being so brave. Thank you all, said the man, and when all the animals had quieted down, toot toot, it cheered the other tugboats. Pip felt very good. The other tugboats had at last become his friends. He gave a tiny Pip for the hard work it had made him tired. The next day, Mr. B came and bringing cans of paint. Good news, Pip. This is your reward for bringing a brave little tugboat. He painted Pip. And so Pip got a brand new shiny coat of paint, just like he wanted. Pip, Pip. He proudly whistled, for now he was like all the other tugboats. Good evening, friends. All right, bedtime. That's Pip the tugboat. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Okay. You ready? All right. This is the story of Pete's Dragon. Yeah, all right. Pete's Dragon. One day, a boy named Pete walked into a little town by the sea. Pete had no family, but he did have a pet dragon named Elliot. And Elliot was a wonderful, friendly dragon. He had green scales and purple wings and a big, long tail, and he could fly. He could breathe fire out through his mouth. When he didn't want anyone to see him, he could make himself invisible. Pete and Elliot soon found a cave to spend the night in. They had just settled in when they saw a young woman peering in through the cave entrance. Hi, she said to Pete. My name is Nora. What's yours? I'm Pete, and this is my dragon, Elliot, Pete answered. It's kind of a cold place to spend the night, isn't it? Nora asked Pete. Why don't you stay at the lighthouse with my dad and me? I asked Elliot to stay too, but I'm afraid he just won't fit. Pete was sorry to leave Elliot alone in the cave, but the kindly dragon, he didn't mind. He was happy that Pete would have a nice, warm place to stay anyway. So Pete moved into the big lighthouse with Nora and her father, Lampy. The next day, Nora took Pete into town and brought him some new clothes. Then they went to the schoolhouse. Elliot went with them. He wanted to go to school too. Then the teacher saw Elliot. She would not let him in school. I'm sorry, she told Pete, but dragons are not allowed in school. And besides, Elliot won't fit. He's too fat. Elliot was sad, but he waited patiently outside on the school ground and playground. After a while, the children came out for recess. Yay! Elliot played with the children there, and they had lots of fun. They played Ring Around the Dragon and then Dragon in the Middle. But soon the bell rang, and it was time for the children to go back in. Elliot was left alone again. After school, Pete rode home on Elliot's back. They both noticed that the sky was going dark and cloudy. Let's hurry, Elliot, said Pete. It looks as though there's a big storm coming. Later, Pete was eating dinner at the lighthouse with Nora and Lampy. Suddenly, there was a bright flash of lightning and a loud crash of thunder. My goodness, exclaimed Nora. It must be a terrible storm. We better check the lamp. Nora and Lampy had to be sure the lamp in the lighthouse was lit all the times so ships could find their way ashore. Well, Nora led the way up the winding stairs to the very top room. There was a big lamp. When she got there, she cried, "Oh no, the lamp had gone out." It was true. The wick of the big lamp was wet, and Nora and Lampy couldn't light it again. As they tried to get the lamp lit, they heard a sound out at sea. It's a ship's foghorn. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo. If we can't get this lamp lit, the ship will be lost. It'll run into the rocks. This is a job for Elliot, said Pete. He turned and raced down the stairs. Pete ran along the beach to the cave. Big waves were crashing against the shore, and the rain was pouring down. Pete found Elliot asleep in the cave. "Wake up, Elliot. You've got to help us," he cried. He shook the big dragon's leg and patted his face. Elliot woke up and rubbed his eyes sleepily. Then Pete told him about the problem. He jumped up. He left the cave and rushed to the lighthouse. Elliot squeezed into the lighthouse and up the winding stairs. It was a tight fit because Elliot was a big, fat dragon. When he reached the tiny room at the top, he took a deep breath and blew a great blast of fiery breath upon the wick of the lamp. The lamp was lit again. Now the light shone brightly through the stormy sea. The ship was able to find its way safely to land. Elliot was a big hero. Everybody was grateful to Pete and his dragon. Only one thing still made Elliot unhappy. He couldn't go to school with Pete and the other children. The townspeople got together and they made a decision. Whenever the weather was sunny and warm, classes would be held outside so that Elliot could watch and listen to every little thing that was going on. And the teacher agreed. Maybe dragons should be allowed at school. Well, Pete's dragon anyway. All right, off to bed. Everybody move, pick up your toys, get your clothes up, go brush your teeth, say your prayers, and get in bed.
Speak, John.
Okay, this is Dr. Zeus's ABCs. All right. Dr. Zeus ABCs, the beginner's book. Big A, little a. What begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator. That begins with A. Big B, little b. What begins with B? barber, baby, bubbles, and bumblebees. That begins with bees. Big C, little c. What begins with C? Camel on a ceiling. That begins with C. Big D, little d. David Donald Do dreamed a dozen donuts and duck dog too. Here he is. A, B, C, D, ear. E, ear, elephant, egg. Big F, little f. Flower, fluffy feathers on a fifer fitter fest. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Goat, girl, goo goo goggles. Big H, little h. Hungry horse and hay. Hen in a hat, hooray, hooray. Big I, little I. Ichabod is itchy. Big J, little j. What begins with J? Jerry Jordan's Jello jar and jam begin that way. Big K, little k. Kitten, kangaroo, kick a kettle kite, and a king's curcachoo. Big L, little lollipop, left leg, a lazy lion, licks a lollipop. Big M, little mumbling mice are making midnight music in the midnight, mighty nice. Yeah, guys, see little mice there? Big N, little n. What begins with these? 9 new neckties and a nightshirt and a nose. Yeah. O is very useful. It use when you say Oscar's only ostrich oiled and orange owl today. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, N, P. Painting pink pajamas, policeman in a pail, Peter Pepper's puppy, and now Papa's in the pail. Big Q, little q. What begins with Q? The quick Queen of Quincy and her quirky quacker too. Big R, little r. Rosie Robbins Ross. Rosie's going riding on her red rhinoceros. Big S, little s. Silly Sammy Slick. Sipped 6 sodas and got sick, sick, sick. T. What begins with T? 10 tired turtles on a turtle tree. Big U, little u. What begins with U? Uncle Oob's umbrella and his underwear too. Big V, little v. Vera Violet Venn is very, very awful on her violin. W. Willie Waterloo washes Warren Wiggies, who is washing Waldo Woo. X is very useful if your name is Nixie Knox. It also comes in handy spelling axe and extra fox. Big Y, little y. A yawning yellow yak. Young Yolanda Jurgensen is yelling on its back. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Big Z, little z. What begins with Z? I do. I am a Zeezer, Zazer, Zoo, as you can plainly see. And that's the end of the story. All right. I love you guys. So get in there and brush your teeth and get to bed, all right? Ta-ta. All right. The 3 little pigs, an old-time favorite here, folks. All right. Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs who went out into the big world to build their homes and seek their fortunes. The first little pig did not like to work at all. He quickly built himself a house of straw. Then he danced off down the road to see how his brothers were getting along. The second little pig was building himself a house too. He did not like to work any better than his brothers. So he decided to build a quick and easy house of sticks. Soon it was finished too. It was not a very strong little house, but at least the work was done. Now the second little pig was free to do what he liked. What he liked to do was play his fiddle and dance. So while the first little pig tooted his flute and the second little pig sawed away on his fiddle and dancing as he played. And as he danced he sang, I built my house of sticks, I built my house of twigs. With a hey-diddly-dee, I play on my fiddle and dance all kind of jigs. Then off danced the two little pigs down the road together to see how their brother was getting along. All right. The third little pig was a sober little pig. He was building a house too, but he was building his of bricks. He didn't mind the hard work, and he wanted a stout little, strong little house, for he knew that in the woods nearby lived a big, bad wolf who liked nothing better than to catch little pigs and eat them up. So slap, slosh, slap, away he worked, laying bricks and smoothing mortar between them. Yeah, there's the old wolf there. Ha, 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 laughed the first little pig when he saw his brother hard at work. Ho, 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 laughed the second little pig. Come down and play with us, he called. But the busy little piglet didn't pause. Slap, slosh, slap with the bricks of mortar as he called down to them. I built my house of stones. I built my house of bricks. I have no chance to sing and dance, for work and play don't mix. Ho, 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 ha, 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 laughed the two lazy little piglets, dancing along to the tune of the fiddle and the flute. Well, you can laugh and you can dance and you can sing, their busy brother called after them, but I'll be safe and you'll be sorry when the wolf comes at the door. Ha, 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 ho, 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 laughed the two little piglets again, and they disappeared into the woods singing a merry tune. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la-la. Just as the first pig reached his door, out of the woods popped the big bad wolf. The little pig squealed with fright and slammed the door. Little piggy, let me in, cried the wolf. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, said the little pig. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in, roared the wolf. And he did. He blew the little straw house all to pieces. Away raced the little pig to his brother's house of sticks. No sooner was he in the door when knock, 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 there was the big, bad wolf. Of course, the little pigs would not let him come in. I'll fool those little pigs, said the big bad wolf to himself. Then he left the little pig's house and he hid behind a big tree. Soon the door opened and the two little jibby piglets peeked out. There was no wolf in sight. Ha, 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 ho, 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 laughed the two little pigs. We fooled him. Then they danced around the room singing gaily. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la-la. Soon there came another knock at the door. It was the big bad wolf again. But he had covered himself with a sheepskin and was curled up in a big basket, looking like a little lamb. Who's there? Called the second little pig. I'm a poor little sheep with no place to sleep. Please open the door and let me in, said the big bad wolf in a sweet little voice. The little piglet peeked through a crack of the door, and he could see the wolf's big black paws and sharp fangs. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. You can't fool us with that sheepskin, said the second little pig. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in, cried the angry old wolf. So he huffed, and he puffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed one more time, and he blew the little twig house all to pieces. Away raced the two little pigs, straight to the third little pig's house of bricks. Don't worry, said the third little pig to his two frightened little brothers. You are safe here. Soon they were gaily singing. This made the big bad wolf perfectly furious. Now by the hair of my chinny chin chin, he roared, I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. So the big bad wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed one more time, but he could not blow that little house of bricks down. How could he get in? At last he thought of the chimney. So he climbed up quietly. Well, that old boy just sneaked right on up there, then with a snarl. And down he jumped, right into a kettle of boiling water. And they fried his little tail and with a yelp of pain, he sprang straight up to the chimney again and raced away into the woods. Then the three little pigs never saw him again, and they spent their time in a strong little brick house singing, dancing merrily. And that so forth ends the story of the three little giblet piglets. All right. Yeah. Hey, man, how about this one here? It was the night before Christmas. All right. Yeah. It was the night before Christmas when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, with visions of sugar plums dancing in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down all warm and snug for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there rose such a chatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw open the sash. Yeah. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew for a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, and Donner and Blitzen. Unto the top of the porch, unto the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they went with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop to the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkle, I heard on the roof the prancing and dancing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and I was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed in all fur from his head to his foot, and on his clothes all tarnished were ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and he smoked it and circled his head like a wreath. Then he had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist in his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sled to give his team a whistle, and away they flew like down on a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." All right. That was the night before Christmas. All right. Yeah. All right. The Cookie Monster and the Cookie Tree. Yeah. One day, it was Tuesday, but that doesn't matter, a witch, who really wasn't a very clever witch, but that doesn't matter either, was out in the forest visiting her cookie tree. Hi, tree. Oh, it's you again. The witch was very fond of her cookie tree. She was also very selfish. Oh, I'm the witch with the cookie tree, and all these cookies are just for me. She was just about to eat a cookie when all of a sudden she saw trouble coming. Oh, no, it's the Cookie Monster. Now, to you and me, the Cookie Monster might not seem like trouble, but for someone who has a cookie tree, it's a different story. The witch decided she better cast a magic spell on the tree so that it would not let the Cookie Monster have any cookies. By the light of the moon and a hoppity-toad's hair, only give cookies to people who share. I don't know about this. Something always goes wrong with these spells. Then the witch hid in the bushes to see if her spell would work. Oh, listen to the birdies and look at the tree. Look at that tree. The Cookie Monster could hardly believe his eyes. Cookie tree, he wondered. He went very close for a better look. Look like cookies, he said. He listened to one. Sound like cookies, he said. He smelled one. Look like cookies. He touched one. Feel like cookies. Then he tried to taste one. The tree poured all of the cookies out of his reach. Hey, what you doing? The tree told him, I'm a magic cookie tree, and I only give cookies to people who will share them. That's silly, said the Cookie Monster. Me not share cookies. Give me a cookie. No, said the tree. That's the rule. You have to have someone to share with. Oh, all right, said the Cookie Monster. Me go get someone to share with. You wait here. Don't go away. It worked. He'll never find anyone to share cookies with him. No one will believe he really wants to share. The Cookie Monster ran all the way back to Sesame Street, where he found his friend, Harry Monster. Harry, he said, oh furry, oh pal, come with me to a cookie tree. Hurry. Me need someone to share with. But Harry didn't believe him. Share? You're the Cookie Monster. You never share cookies. I know better than to fall for one of your tricks. Bye-bye. Next, the Cookie Monster saw Big Bird. Oh, Big Bird, he said, you want some cookies? Me need someone to share them with. Big Bird didn't believe him either. What? Are you feeling all right, Cookie Monster? The Cookie Monster was getting discouraged, but he said, me not give up. Meanwhile, back at the cookie tree, the witch was having problems of her own. When she tried to take a cookie, the tree said to her, stop. You can't have one. You told me to give cookies only to people who will share them. But I didn't mean me, said the witch. You made the rule. I told you something always goes wrong with spells. This is ridiculous. And what about the Cookie Monster? Well, he was still trying to find someone to share cookies with him. Ernie, please help me share some cookies, old buddy, old Ernie, old pal. What? You don't share cookies. You take everybody else's cookies. Now, Cookie Monster was even more discouraged. Oh, please, he said, someone believe me. But no one did. Wonderful. That is one ridiculous story you have told me. Tell me another one, and I will count it. This is the silliest thing I've ever heard. The Cookie Monster sharing? Old Grover knows you are joking, Cookie Monster. That is very funny because you never share cookies. I hate cookies, said Oscar. So, feeling sad and hungry, the Cookie Monster walked back to the forest to see if the cookie tree would change his mind. And what was the witch doing at this time? She was still trying to get a cookie. Come on, you pesky tree. I'm going to make you into pencils if you don't give me a cookie. You said to give cookies only to people who will share them. When the Cookie Monster heard the witch and the tree arguing, he knew who had caused all the trouble. Oh ho, you the person who tell tree not to give cookies except to share. That's a dumb thing to do. You're not kidding. Now I can't get any cookies either. The Cookie Monster had an idea. Hey, you and me can share cookies, he told the witch. Say, she said, that's so crazy it just might work. So they tried it. Okay, hand over cookie. You promise to share? We share already. Come on. Okay, said the tree, and lowered its branches. The Cookie Monster took a cookie and broke it into two pieces, one for himself and one for the witch, and they shared. This piece for you. Thank you. Me want more. Just what do you think? Sure, why not? Here, one for you, Witchy, and one for me. Wait, this one is not right. Me eat it. This one look okay, but me taste it first. Hey, slow down. Take it easy. Hey, so what about me? Come on. Yeah, the Cookie Monster, he sat down, and the Witchy said, why don't I raise radishes? And that's the story of the Cookie Monster and the cookie tree. Da-da! How you doing there, Ma? What, you gonna give old son a kiss there, huh?
Hi, grandson. Grandma love you.
Yeah, you know me, typical grandma, huh?
Yes, love you too.
Yeah, Ma, so let me check out these ribs here.
No, buddy, cut it out.
Ribs get together here, Ma.
Hi, Luke. Hi, JP. Grandma and Grandpa love you. We'll see you in August.
Let me see these ribs.
Wait, stop it. See your father.
Who is that waving?
Hi, Luke.
That's
Hi,
Teresa.
JP.
This is
Hi,
Grandma. This is
Esther.
Grandma Lewis. This is your father acting up.
Too bad I won't see you in August. We'll send Taylor
Okay.
down.
Love you. Love you, kids. Hi, Esther. Gotta go. Bye.
Bye.
They got the TV on in there, too. Gotta turn that down.
Teresa, turn that TV down.
Okay, The Wizard of Oz. Once there was a little girl named Dorothy who lived on a farm in Kansas. She lived with her Uncle Henry and her Auntie Em and her little dog, Toto. Nothing very exciting ever happened on that farm until the day of a big wind. It was a wind called a tornado, and it came roaring across the fields. It also scattered the haystacks and the chicken scoops, and the tree branches went every which way. Then it roared up and twisted around the farmhouse, and it picked up the house, Dorothy, Toto, and all. The wind carried the house high, high into the air. It carried the house far, far from Kansas. Then it set the house down with a soft whump. Then it set the house down in a place where there were green hills and sparkling blue streams and, of all things, strange crowds of little people, little fat folks. Welcome to a munchkin land, said one little man to Dorothy. Thank you, said Dorothy very politely. It's very pretty here, but how can I get home to Kansas? My Auntie Em and my Uncle Henry will be worried about what's going on with me. The little man had never heard of Kansas. None of the little people had even heard of Kansas. My dear, said a nice old lady, you must go to the Emerald City and ask the great Wizard of Oz how to get to Kansas. Oz is very wise and very wonderful, and he will know about Kansas if anyone does. Follow the yellow brick road, and you can't go wrong, said a little gentleman. It will take you straight to the Emerald City. So Dorothy and Toto set off down the yellow brick road. Before long, they came to a cornfield, and there was a scarecrow stuck up on a pole. He was a most unusual scarecrow. He could nod and wink and even talk. And when he learned that Dorothy and Toto were going to see the Wizard of Oz, he decided that he would go too. Perhaps the mighty wizard could give me some brains, he said. Dorothy agreed that even a scarecrow would be better off with a brain or two, so she helped him down off his pole and over the fence. After a bit, Dorothy and Toto and the scarecrow saw beside the road a man who was made entirely of tin. He stood holding an axe, but he didn't speak and didn't stir. "Why, he's all rusted," said Dorothy. She ran to a nearby cottage where she found an oil can. Then she oiled the Tin Woodman's joint very carefully. The Tin Woodman was ever so grateful that he could move once more. And when he heard that Dorothy and the Scarecrow were going to see the Great Wizard, he asked if he might come along too. "Perhaps Oz would give me a heart," he said. "It's most difficult to be without a heart. I want to love people, but one needs a heart for that." "I suppose one does," said Dorothy. "All right, you can come along with us." "And let's take the oil can," said the Scarecrow. "We don't want you to rust again." So off they all went down the yellow brick road, Dorothy and Toto, the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, and of course the oil can. Suddenly there was a horrible roar, and a huge lion sprang onto the road. He opened his enormous mouth and showed his sharp teeth. Sometimes he wanted to gobble Toto up. "Don't you dare!" cried Dorothy, rushing at the lion and slapping him on the nose. The lion stopped roaring and began to cry. "Why, you're just a big coward," said Dorothy. "I know," sobbed the lion. "I can't help it. I was born this way." Dorothy and her friends felt sorry for the wretched, weeping lion, that they invited him to come along with them. Perhaps, just perhaps, maybe perhaps, possibly the great Oz will give you some courage, said Dorothy. The cowardly lion, he wanted courage more than anything, so he was happy to journey to the Emerald City of Oz. As night was coming, the travelers saw a great castle near the road. "Oh dear," the cowardly lion shivered. "Oh my, the wicked witch of the West lives there. Let's hide, quickly." Too late. The wicked witch had already seen them. "Travelers on the road," she screeched, and she called her winged monkeys. The Tin Man and the Scarecrow were of no use, she told the monkeys. "Destroy them, but bring that little girl and the dog and the lion to me." The winged monkeys swooped down upon Dorothy and her friends. They hurled the Tin Woodman from a cliff, and he laid below bent and battered. They tore the straw from the Scarecrow and tossed his clothes into a tree. So there was nothing left of him but a bundle of old clothes. But Dorothy, Toto, and the Cowardly Lion were carried to the Wicked Witch. "You scrub my floors and wash my dishes," said the witch to Dorothy. "As for your lion, he'll pull my chariot." "I will not," said the Cowardly Lion, and he said it in a very brave way. "You will, or I'll put you in a cage," said the Wicked Witch. "You cruel thing," cried Dorothy, and though she was really a gentle girl, she picked up a bucket of water and threw it over the witch. "Oh, oh, oh," cried the witch. "Now look what you've done. You ruined me." And there, right before Dorothy's eyes, the Wicked Witch of the West melted away like snow under the summer sun. Dorothy and Toto and the Cowardly Lion fled from that horrid castle. They quickly found the Tin Woodman. They hammered the dents out of his arms and his legs so that he was almost as good as new. They found the Scarecrow's empty clothes and stuffed them with fresh straw. There was the Scarecrow again, whole and happy as ever. Then they hurried on until they reached the green, sparkling, and gleaming city, the Emerald City of Oz. When the great wizard, saw that the travelers at his gate had melted the Wicked Witch of the West, he consented to see them. He was not exactly what Dorothy had expected. He was a timid little man who hid behind this emerald throne when they first came in. However, he was also a wise little man. "You want brains, don't you?" he said to the Scarecrow. He took the straw out of the Scarecrow's head and put in a big heap of pins and needles in its place. "Now you're bristling with good, sharp brains," he said. "Use them, and you will be as clever as ever." "The Scarecrow is clever already," whispered Dorothy. "I suspected as much," said the wizard. Then into the Tin Man's chest, the wizard put a pretty little heart made of red satin. "The Tin Woodman has been tender-hearted all along," said Dorothy. "I imagine so," replied the wizard. Then the wizard gave the Cowardly Lion a magical portion, and the lion gulped down every drop. When he finished, he roared louder than any 3 lions. "I feel so brave," he cried. "You were already brave," the wizard told him. "Your courage means doing what's right, even if you are afraid while you're doing it." Okay. "Now what about Kansas?" asked Dorothy. The great wizard smiled and took a pair of pretty silver slippers out of his pocket. "These are truly magic," he said. "Put them on, and they will take you wherever you want to go." So Dorothy put on the slippers, said goodbye to her friends, picked up Toto, and thought, Kansas. In a twinkling, the Emerald City was gone. Back she was in Kansas. Auntie Em was hugging her, Uncle Henry was wiping his eyes and laughing, and Toto was barking. She was home again, and all of the wonderful places she had been, home was the best place to be of all. Yeah, right. That's the story of the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Bozo. You want to program, you supposedly always have it at the highest f-stop here.
Okay.
On f-stop 22. All right? If for some reason I forget to do that and I put it on like f-stop 16,
Are you taping now? You got Taylor?
it's going to say, all right, you're in program. All right, you know you're supposed to have it on f-stop 22. You don't have it in there.
Taylor
I'm still going to make
Beth
things work for you. Okay? All right?
12
I
months
said,
old.
Daddy, I want this tape for my kids. Thank you. All right? Remember, I'm the one gone for 6 months. Hey, guys, you know?
At least you got Taylor and Ricky on there.
Okay? So, now, the camera also makes you mad. I was out shooting a sunset. And I had it on aperture priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted my aperture at 22, and I set my shutter speed for, I think it was like 250.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pressed the old button, and I know what 250 sounds like. Didn't go 250. Something's wrong. Well, nothing was wrong. The camera is saying, if you're going to set it at that aperture, buddy, we're going to choose the shutter speed that we want, regardless of whatever you program in there. See?
Okay.
So that's exactly what it did. And I drove all the way back out to the shop, took it up there, set the camera up on the desk, and said, hey, this page such and such this camera, you got something wrong with it, I want it fixed. Well, Mr. Lewis, what's it doing here? Well, this is what the thing is doing here. He said, well, you know, that's what it's supposed to do. I was used to working a manual camera.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in program, that camera does what it wants to do. It does what it wants to do. And that's the big difference with these things now. I think probably the next generation cameras, the only thing they're going to do is talk to you. They'll have little voices on them that says, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, and go ahead on and do it. Well, if you want to do it, go ahead on, but I want to do it. Listen, this is what you ought to do on this. And, you know, who wants to pay money for that?
Right.
You know, I don't want, you know, to pay something, you know. Now, this right here, let me show you. Okay, now, okay, if you look through there now, okay, now, actually push this button here.
Okay,
it's
what's
dark.
that? Yeah.
Cousin
okay.
Luke. Hi, Cousin JP.
That lets you know
Hi, Aunt Esther.
how sharp the field is going to be. Okay. Now that just lets you know how clear that picture's going to be. You know, when I press that down, can you see how dark it is? Because I have it on f-stop 22.
You want the motorcycle?
Okay. All right, now let me turn that now. All right, you'll see
Okay,
how I
I see it's
light
getting
the
bright.
picture's right.
Yeah.
The lighter that is, it means, hey, very bright. It's not going to be,
I didn't know you were
the
Cecil
depth of
Miguel.
field is not going to be as
I was
good.
Have a good
Hey,
week.
that's
You
just
too,
another
Sam.
added feature on that camera. You know, it's just another little deal, you know, that you pick up, that's all.
I see.
Okay. This right here, like when we go downstairs and
Hey,
take
Sam.
pictures and everything,
This is my son. You seen him?
I'll
This is my
shut
boy.
that. See, simply because light can enter.
The Navy, the
Yeah,
guy with the
it's just
camera.
light can enter
He's a
in
Navy
from
chaplain.
here, and it will distort your picture. So they just add a feature on there where you can shut out the light
He come to visit
Coming
me a
on the
little
back.
while.
Oh, yeah?
as soon as
Yeah.
you're not using it. See?
Well,
That's, you know, or at least ASA 4000. You know, and that's just super sensitive camera. They haven't even made that yet. They haven't made 32,000. You know, that's just not even in existence. That's about all the.
What's this thing over here?
Right.
I saw a little.
Oh, all right. You're talking about this right here? Okay. This is for purposeful double exposure. Okay? All right. This, if I want to double expose something, let's say I take a picture of a sunset, and I've done this, and I want to superimpose something on that sunset. Okay, then I just, as I advance the film, I'll hold that back and turn it.
Okay.
And it
keeps in
resets
same.
the shutter, but it doesn't advance
Move the
the
film.
film. So that I can do double exposures, I can do triple. See? Once again, something else you can play with if you want to play with it, you know.
Oh, that's neat.
And not a lot of cameras have that. Another feature that this one has, which I think is about the highest in the cameras in its class, is this. You can use flash photography at 250 femtoseconds. Most cameras are something like 30 or 125. This you can. Somebody kid, Mr. T and me. All right. I'm tired of being nobody. I did one morning as I stood out in front of the bathroom mirror. Every day at school, somebody got attention. Joe, he told jokes and everyone laughed. Mike made the most points on kickball. Yesterday, my sister even got an award for spelling, but nobody ever noticed me. I splashed the water on the mirror. Today, I'm going to be somebody. Usually, I sit at the front of the room, but not today. Today, I plopped into a seat at the back. Why aren't you sitting in your own seat? The teacher asked. I take my own seat with me, I said, and pointed to the back of my jeans. All of the kids laughed. I laughed too. Are you sick? The teacher asked. She marched me to my own desk. It felt good. For gym, then we went outside. Every day I sit on the sidelines, but not today. Today I grabbed the football and kicked it hard, right over the fence. Some of the kids laughed. I laughed too. So what's wrong with you? The gym teacher asked. He made me go after the ball, but it felt good. I felt good all morning. Everybody was starting to notice me. After lunch, we had a surprise test in math. I copied the smartest kid's paper. He sat right beside me all year, but I never did that before. I know I got most of the problems right. Dad would notice that. Just as the bell rang, the intercom cracked. Attention, the principal said, Mr. T is coming to our school. Grades 1 through 3 report to the gym at 2 o'clock. Everyone else at 3 o'clock. We all hollered and stamped our feet. Everybody likes Mr. T. So we all watched him on TV. This was my chance to be somebody big. But how? I could get Mr. T's autograph. I could get his picture. But all of the kids went to do that. Somehow I had to make everyone, even Mr. T, notice me. At 2 o'clock, we hurried to the gym. Then we sat down on the bleachers. At last, Mr. T arrived. His gold chains flashed. His combat boots echoed on the wooden floor. Everyone cheered. Then I saw Mr. T's sock. One sock was green and one sock was bright yellow. I waited until the yelling stopped. Then I jumped up. "Hey, Mr. T, you've got two different socks on," I yelled and sat down. Some of the kids laughed. Others sat quietly. After all, who messes with Mr. T? Mr. T glared at the bleachers. He looked directly at me. So I jumped up again. "One sock green and one sock yellow," I chanted. "Mr. T, are you blind or something?" This time most of the kids laughed. After all, Mr. T was wearing two odd socks. I looked around. Now I had everyone's attention. I was somebody. Mr. T pointed a finger directly at me. "You want to mess with Mr. T?" he shouted. He climbed the bleachers two at a time. My teacher was beside me. She pulled me on my elbow. Sit down, she ordered. Mr. T, he waved her away. "We've got to get the bottom of this." He put his hand on my shoulder. "Out with it." "So what's bothering you?" I wiped my hand on my knees. The whole school was watching. Nobody messes with Mr. T, especially when he's got you by the shoulder. "I want to be somebody," I said, and Mr. T's knuckles bumped my ear. It didn't feel so good. But Mr. T, he leaned down. "You ain't going to be somebody by putting other people down. Nobody needs to prove themselves. You already are somebody. Don't you know that?" "How can I be somebody?" I asked. "Nobody ever pays attention to me." "You just got to be yourself. God made you somebody," said Mr. T. "He likes you just the way you are, and he likes me just the way I am, odd socks and all. I don't try to please anybody but him." He looked all around the gym. "We all are somebody, right?" "Right," everybody hollered back. Mr. T, he climbed to the top of the stairs. He pointed to kids, one at a time. "Only one you," he said. "Only one me." "Only one you," everybody shouted back. "Only one me." The kids, they crowded in for Mr. T's autograph, but he signed my notebook first. "To Mr. Somebody," he wrote, "from Mr. T." And that concludes our story for this evening. Frosty the Snowman. Frosty the Snowman came to town one bright, cold winter's day. The first real snow of the winter had fallen the night before. In the morning, out came the children. They all started to roll snowballs. Round and round the snow yard they rolled the snowballs. Soon they had two big, fine snowballs. Round and round the yard again, there was a little snowball, just the right size for the snowman's head. So Billy ran home and brought two bits of coal to use for the snowman's eyes. Sally gave him a button nose and a funny corncob pipe. Tommy bought a floppy shoes and goulashes and a scarf for the snowman. And Joe brought him a pair of old red mittens to wear. Now we needed a hat, said Sally and Joe, and they began to look around. Let's tape it the next time. We got too much noise going on in the back. Well, okay. Frosty the Snowman. Frosty the Snowman came to town one bright, cold winter's day. The first real snow of the winter had fallen the night before. In the morning, out came the children, where they started to roll snowballs. Round and round the snowy yard they rolled the snowballs. Soon they had two fine big ones. Round and round the yard again. There was a little snowball, just the right size for the snowman's head. And Billy ran home and brought two bits of coal to use for the snowman's eyes. Sally gave him a button and a funny corncob pipe. Tommy bought floppy shoes and goulashes and a scarf for the snowman. And Joe bought him a pair of old red mittens to wear. Now we need a hat, said Sally and Joe. So they all began to look around. Sally found an old cap, but it didn't look just right. And Billy found a battered felt hat, but it still didn't seem right. Just then, down the street, came a whistling wind, and it blew to their feet a shiny top hat. Just what we need, cried Sally and Joe. It's like magic, said Billy and Tommy. It was Tommy who picked up the tiny top hat and put it on the snowman's head. Zing! Tommy's hand sprang back with shock. It is magic, gasped Tommy. So it is, said a voice, a deep, chuckly voice that they had never heard before. And a pleasant sort of magic, if I do say so myself. It's the snowman, whispered Sally. And it was so. Frosty the Snowman, at your service, he said. That is how Frosty the Snowman came alive. If you have ever had a snowman for a friend, you can scarcely imagine all the fun those children had. For Frosty took them coasting, and never had their sleds gone so swiftly and so far. Frosty helped them build a snow house, and never had blocks packed so firmly and well. They all went ice skating, and the magical part was that while they were there with Frosty, the children could stay out and play in the snow and never get shivery cold. It was Frosty's warm heart or his magical smile. Well, whatever it was, they thought it was fun. Each morning, when the children came out to play, Frosty had a wonderful plan all set. One morning he said, "Let's go shopping today. I've never seen a store, you know." So they all joined hands and went away and skipped off down towards town where all the shops stood in a row. It was fun showing Frosty around, for he thought each window was wonderful. All around the town, they led Frosty that day while the warm, wintry sun shone down. Soon they came to a corner, and around the corner came a warm gust of wind. It blew off Frosty's hat, and away after it Frosty went. Then Tweet sang the traffic cop's loud whistle, and the children could not follow Frosty because the traffic steamed by, buses, trucks, and family cars. Tweet! Then the traffic cops whistled again. The crossing stood empty before them now, but there was no sign of Frosty to be seen. Only down the street, his top hat rolled all by itself in the melting snow. "Mr. Policeman," the children cried, "where has Frosty the Snowman gone?" "Oh," said the policeman, "Frosty the Snowman has gone away, where all snowmen go on a sunny day. But he'll be back at your bidding and call, and whenever great heaps of snowflakes fall. And he will." And that's the story of Frosty the Snowman. All right. One more. Okay. Zacchaeus meets Jesus. Zacchaeus meets Jesus. Zacchaeus, a tax collector, he was a rich man and a short man. A curious man who wanted to see Jesus. Zacchaeus was not a good man, though. He cheated people. Zacchaeus made the people pay more taxes than they really had to pay. Then Zacchaeus kept part of the money for himself. Zacchaeus didn't have many friends. The people in the town of Jericho, where Zacchaeus lived, didn't like being cheated. But Zacchaeus had heard the people talking about Jesus, how he made sick people well and taught about God's love. Zacchaeus wondered if these things were true. One day, Zacchaeus heard a shout, "Jesus is coming." The men and the women and the boys and the girl ran to the road and lined up to see Jesus as he passed by. Zacchaeus ran too, but he was too short. He couldn't find a place to stand. He couldn't see over the heads of the people in the crowd. no one would let him through the front of the line. But Zacchaeus didn't give up. He ran to a tree by the side of the road and quickly climbed up into its branches. He climbed from branch to branch to branch until he could see Jesus walking up the road. As Jesus came closer to the tree, Zacchaeus looked down and saw, and Jesus was looking up at him. "Zacchaeus, you hurry and come down," said Jesus, "for today I must dine in your house." "At my house," thought Zacchaeus, "no one has ever wanted to come to my house." Zacchaeus hurried down and took Jesus home for dinner. "Look at that," complained the people of Jericho. "Jesus has gone to eat with that Zacchaeus." Everyone knows about the bad things Zacchaeus has done. But at the house of Zacchaeus, there was no complaining. Zacchaeus listened to Jesus. He knew the things that Jesus taught were true. Zacchaeus was sorry for all the wrong things he had done. He decided to start doing right instead. Zacchaeus stood and said to Jesus, "Lord, half of all that I own I will give to the poor. If I have cheated anyone, I will pay him back 4 times as much." Jesus was pleased. He said to Zacchaeus, "I have come to save everyone who has done wrong." Now, Zacchaeus was a rich man, a short man, and a happy man because he decided to do right. And that's the story of Zacchaeus. All right. Okay, you can leave it running. Yeah, back in you guys' things here. Well, here's one. God made them all. Yeah, well, might as well read this one here. Yeah. Let's see. God made them all. Okay, God made butterflies. God made bees. And God made flowers. God made trees. God made caterpillars. And God made twigs. And God made horses. And God made pigs. And God made sparrows. And God made me. All right. That's the story of God made them all. Little extras there. All right. Okay. Well, I'm not going to go along with the sharks here. Yeah, now you little guys got about 60 stories on tapes and on videos. We're gonna take this. Get the astronaut one in there. I don't know where we want to take this or not. Oh, not. Ain't too bad. Oh boy. Now I'm gonna go upstairs and get that atlas there.